and welcome to the Untold Chapters of Mongol History. In our previous episode, we began our story about Mongolian legendary general SUBEEDAY. And today we will continue the story about the life and military and political career of General SUBEEDAY. Thank you very much, Dr. Atkombayar. So let's continue our talk. Let's first of all recap what we talked about last time by showing on the map the total number of fights or the overall military campaigns led by General SUBEEDAY. And then we will move on to perhaps the second raid to Jin Dynasty.
Well, if you see the map of Eurasia, these are the total campaigns that SUBEEDAY fought all over Eurasia. So I think we ended up the Great Raid to the west, here 1223 Battle of Kalkarevo, and then the fight with Bulgarian Kingdom in 1223, and his return back to Mongolia in 1226, the campaign against the Tangut Kingdom of Sisya.
So those parts we covered already.
We covered, yes. The reason why I decided to show this map is that, some historians write that SUBEEDAY is somewhere equal to Napoleon Bonaparte. I would argue that he was much more than Napoleon Bonaparte. If you remember Napoleon Bonaparte, he started from France, maybe up to Moscow. So his theater of the military operation is that small, whereas SUBEEDAY's theater of the military operation started from the Yellow Sea and ended by the Mediterranean. So I don't know any other general in the history who operated in such a vast military operation theater and in so many different conditions, from the tropical jungles of southern China to the steppes of Hungary, or maybe mountains of Caucasia, or Kizilkum Desert. So this is, in my opinion, he is modern general. He should be Field Marshal or Generalissimus.
Unparalleled.
Unparalleled.
To date.
Yeah.
And within some 3 to 4 decades?
Yes, he's, I would say that his tenure as a commander in force started 1219 with the Khwarezmian campaign, and he fought until his death in 1248. So we are talking about 21 years.
21 years. But that's only during the consolidation of the empire. But if we include the consolidation of the Ulus, Mongol Ulus, another 15 years. So all in all, about 40 years of military leadership,
yes.
Right? So we talked about we briefly mentioned about the first Jin Dynasty raid.
Yes.
Which
1211.
Yes. Which is a huge battle. And I think we will dedicate a separate episode. But now let's today begin with where we ended. So he finished Khwarezmian campaign, then was called back to Genghis Khan's camp to fight against Tangut.
Yes.
And then Tanguts were defeated. What happened afterwards? Tanguts were defeated by the time of Genghis Khan's death.
Yes, Genghis Khan was dead at the end of the campaign, but nevertheless, Mongols concluded the campaign and defeated the Tangut Kingdom of Sisya. And obviously, after this war, SUBEEDAY did go back to Deshti Kipchak to finish what he started over there, actually the creation of the Golden Horde. So he was continuing to work in there, occasionally skirmishing with the Bulgars, with Bashkirs, etc. And in 12 1231, commander of the Mongol forces in Jin dynasty, Dogol Cherbi, he was defeated by Jin. And it was a very difficult period for Mongol Empire. And obviously the successor of Genghis Khan, his son Ugude, he was worried about the fate of the campaign in Jin. So he called back SUBEEDAY from Deshti Kipchak to head Mongol forces into the second campaign against the Jin dynasty. When Genghis Khan defeated initially the Jin Empire, he concluded a truce with the Jin Empire, but left his trusted general Mogholai in Jin Empire to conclude the conquest of Jin. But if you read Rashid ad-Din's Compendium of Chronicles, Mogholai was left only with 21,000 soldiers. So you imagine the vastness of northern China in 21,000 Mongolians. So obviously you cannot conquer with such a force, such a vast territory with almost 48 million population. So it was unbelievable task. I wonder why Mogholai was not defeated. But he managed not to be defeated. He managed even to conquer the province by province, the Jin. But of course, which is such a small force, it was prolonged. So the war was continuing with limited success. And by 1230, Mogholai was dead by 1225 or 6, and he was replaced by another general, Dogol Cherbi, who was defeated in 1230 by Jurchen forces.
But the campaign started in 1211.
Yes. Yeah. And Ugude was obviously worried because he thought that the campaign is going to end in failure. And also Jin forces, they were obviously, because of the defeat of Dogol Cherbi, Ugude Khan was afraid that Jin forces will get a boost to their morale against the Mongols. So he decided to restart the campaign, and he called SUBEEDAY from Deshti Kipchak as a military commander. So in 1230, Mongols again invaded into the Jin territories now here we see the Jurchen Empire was really small by that time. This is Beijing, already occupied Mongols. So Ugude, this is Ugude, SUBEEDAY, and Ugude's brother Tulu, the three forces, they led a three-pronged attack. And the major obstacle on the way of defeating Jin was the fortress of Tongguan. If you see the fortress of Tongguan, it was in the hills. So it was difficult to defeat the forces in the fortress. It was a very strong fortress. And it was also very, very much difficult to go around the fortress because it's a very mountainous area. So at that moment, SUBEEDAY took a decision that he will disperse his forces, and by the small groups of his forces will sleep through the mountains around Tongguan. In Tongguan, they had 100,000 strong forces, Jin Empire. And at that moment, Jin general Chen Shihang, he defeated some of the Mongol forces.
Some of the SUBEEDAY's units.
Yeah, SUBEEDAY's units were dispersed. So Chen Shihang defeated. Again, there is a dispute between the historians. Some say that SUBEEDAY was defeated over there, but in others argue that Mongols were divided into 10 to 12 units, and Chen Shihang defeated one of the unit and immediately reported back to the capital Kaifeng that he defeated Mongols. in order to get remunerations, etc. But on the other hand, some sources say that Ugute was furious with this small defeat because Ugute was afraid that, following defeat of Togolhucherbi, there was going to be another defeat, and then really Jing forces are going to be in high morale. So some sources say that he wanted to sack SUBEEDAY from the command of the forces, and Tului, he defended SUBEEDAY. He explained to Ugute that, well, that was actually the right tactic, to go around Tungguan instead of attacking the strong force. To go around Tungguan was much better option. So the following history shows that SUBEEDAY was right. And in next attack, Mongol forces made a round of Tungguan and made a dash into the deep, into Jing territory. So most of the forces of Jing was locked in Tungguan. Of course, they could not follow Mongol forces because Mongols were cavalry. So SUBEEDAY made raid through the South Song territory to go into Jing. It again shows the diplomatic skill that SUBEEDAY was having, because you see, to go through the Song territory, he had to negotiate with Sons.
Yes.
That they would allow his forces to go through their territory, but somehow he negotiated it through, and they made through the Song territory, obviously with the support of Song, who were probably happy to that Jing will be defeated. So again, when he made into the territory of Jing again, General Hada, it's Jing General Hada, started from Tongguan, and General Pua from Kaifeng started from the other place. So forces of SUBEEDAY and Tului were actually encircled in the Sanfen Mountains.
By Hada and Pua.
Yeah. And there is a very interesting article by Christopher Atwood, Pua's Boast and Togolhu's Defeat. He is explaining why Togolhucherbi was defeated and what Pua has boasted. Actually, when Mongol forces were encircled in Sanfen Mountains, Pua boasted that he will kill every Mongolian man and rape every Mongolian woman. And some sources indicate that Mongols had some kind of mystic ritual to call the storms. And historian Timothy May suggests in 1233, Tului used this mystic force. In Mongolian, it used to be said as Tzat-Tzatlach. So when in the mountains of Sanfen, for 3 days it was snowing. And after...
Which is very unusual, or?
Well, there are references that Mongols used some kind of rituals to call for stormy rain or snow, and Timothy May believes that it's a real. We don't know now how they were doing it, but Rashid ad-Din definitely says that Tului used this ritual to organize a snow in the Sanfen Mountains. Obviously, snow will come on everybody's head, including Mongol soldiers' head, but Mongols were more accustomed to cold climate than Jing soldiers. So after 3 days of snow, Mongols stormed into Jing position and rooted them out. Pua was killed and Hada was captured. So when Hada was about to be executed, as a last wish, he wanted to see SUBEEDAY in person. And SUBEEDAY was very surprised. So he came to Hada and said, "You are going to be executed in a moment. Why do you want to see me?" And Hada has said, well, at least as the Yuanxi Chronicle says, Hada said that, well, we serve, all of us, we serve to our own masters. So you serve your master, I serve my master. And now I can see that you are really brave men and very talented men. So now I know that my defeat was not a mere occasion. So I was to be defeated. So now I can die in peace. So that shows that Hada was, well, he was agitated that he was defeated by occasion. Maybe it was his mistake that his forces were defeated. But after seeing SUBEEDAY, he said, well,
this is my fate.
This is my fate, so I can die in peace. That's the story about that battle in Sanfen Mountain. And then after defeating main Jin force, both from Dongguan, from Kaifeng, the route to Kaifeng was open. Yeah, and Mongol armies went to Kaifeng. And, well, that's the story about a snowstorm. Well, actually, we are taking these images from the channel Kings in Generals. So I think we should also
acknowledge that
channel.
So Kaifeng is now reached.
Yeah, Kaifeng. Well,
yeah, that's the story.
That's the story.
You will die in a moment. Why do you want to see me? Each of us vassals work for our respective masters. You are braver than other generals, and by nature you are a hero. Could that all really just be random chance? I've met you, and now I shall die in peace. So in a way, he's also showing his respect.
Yes.
And his being, this is a very noble act, actually. Yeah?
Yes. So the Kaifeng was besieged, and at the siege of Kaifeng, there are two interesting stories. First of all, Kaifeng was really heavily fortified city, and the Mongol catapults, at the beginning could not break the wall of the city. So what SUBEEDAY did, he collected all 400 catapults and started aiming at only one place.
One spot on the wall.
One spot on the wall, and he started bombarding that spot day and night. And finally, they have been able to break the wall and enter into the city. And actually, of course, Jing Emperor fled the city before the siege, and there was a general who was commanding the city. Jing Empress remained in the city. She could not leave. And Jing general decided to pay ransom to Mongols, and he started looting his own city, including Empress herself. Yeah, but it didn't help anyway. And after conquering the Kaifeng, SUBEEDAY sent a message to Ugade. He asked, okay, this city resisted us. Should we massacre the city or leave the city alone? So there, the advisor of Ugade Khan, Yelu Chutsai, comes in, and he came to Ugade and he started telling him, okay, instead of killing everybody in Kaifeng, that much we can collect in taxes, and every year we are going to collect that much taxes. And after that, Ugade was convinced, and he decided not to organize a massacre in the city. So that's basically 1234 and fall of the Jin dynasty.
Fall of the Jin dynasty. So the campaign lasted from 1211 to 34, more than 20 years.
Yes.
Why Mongols had this hatred against Jin dynasty or Dzurchits?
Well,
that's not hatred. Maybe probably it's about
I would say
revenge. Hatred?
I would say hatred because you see, starting from 1180s, Jing dynasty had a policy to organize a campaign into the Mongolian steppe every third or fifth year, and to kill every male and capture women and children and sell them as slaves. They used to call it as reducing number of wolves, because Jing was always afraid that the northern nomads will invade into the Jin dynasty one day. So they were trying to keep. And even great-great-grandfather of Genghis Khan was captured by Tatars, transferred to Jing, and Jing tortured him on the wooden donkey and killed.
And then, having Ambrahan sit on a wooden donkey was a huge sign of humiliation, right? Because this was
First of all, it's a torture.
Torture, yes.
Yeah. Maybe European watchers would know it as a Spanish donkey. It was basically the same way of torturing a person. You see, you will have triangle-shaped wooden
horse, kind of.
Yeah, triangle-shaped, and you put a person on the
angle. Yeah.
On the angle of this wooden pole, and carry that. You will tie the person upon that and carry that wooden pole through the streets of the city. Well, obviously in 13th century, we didn't have paved road over there, so with each bump, the end of the pole will go into the person's body. In Jin dynasty, it was basically a torture designed for a woman for adultery, so that woman will gradually die out of the bleeding on this wooden pole. And the fact that Ambarai was tortured in that way, it shows that, first of all, Jing wanted to say that he's a woman.
Well, you're not a man. Well,
yeah. And also, they are saying that you're unfaithful woman.
Unfaithful.
Yeah. So that's, besides the torture, it is also a kind of belittling or humiliation of this person. So every Mongolian used to remember Ambrai's words that he sent back home, that you should take my revenge until all the fingers on your hand would finish. So that was
remembered by
every Mongolian. And also in one of the Chinese sources, they report that in northern China there was no family having a Tatar slave. They chose the size of the campaigns that Jing was having on the northern steppes. So obviously, probably every family had a grudge and feeling of revenge against the Jing. So that war against Jing was not only a question of looting.
Yes.
First of all, it was probably a case of looting. And secondly, they really did have an economic importance, because Jing was source of production of silks, tea, very important goods of that time. But also it was subject of revenge by the Mongols, who lost somebody from their family in these Jing campaigns.
So now this campaign is over and Jin is totally defeated.
Jing is totally defeated, and Mongol
becomes
administration
a part of
was
Mongol
established in Jing. And that's 1233.
Already.
So SUBEEDAY comes back to Mongolia. In 1235, there was another Hurultai, which made a decision that now it's time to go on the Western campaign. And again, there is a lot of misunderstanding about the Western campaign, that it was directed against the Russians, or Mongols had plans to invade.
So what was the
Europe-
purpose of the Western?
Well, in Mongolian history, they call the campaign as Kipchak campaign. Remember in the previous chapter, we have been discussing that SUBEEDAY was following Kipchaks in Battle of Kalka, and from Kalka River, Kipchaks fled to Hungary. So again, the Great Khan decided that Kipchaks are not defeated, so we have to follow them and defeat them. So the Great Western Campaign has started. And when the campaign has started, well, SUBEEDAY had really no free time. When he came back home, there is another decision on the Western Campaign, and this campaign is called in different manner. It's called Kipchak campaign, actually following after Kipchaks. Sometimes it's called Campaign of the Princes, because 13 princes went on this campaign.
Senior princes even, yeah?
Yes, senior princes of every houses, of Chinggizid houses, which included Batu, son of Juchi, Guyuk, son of Ugadei, Buri, son of Chagatai, etc., etc. So all 13 of them. And, most of them were inexperienced in warfare. So SUBEEDAY was called as chairman of the general staff, I would say, to lead the campaign, and also as an expert in the Western affairs, because he was the guy who was really going through all these places, who knew who they are, how to fight with them. So having said this, most scholars omit 3 years in between, because people start with start of the Russian campaign, which actually started 1239.
39.
Yeah, but the troops from Mongolia started 1236. So the question is what they were doing in 3 years.
A long time.
Long time. Yeah, but again, first they had to come to Bulgaria. Remember the battle in Bulgaria?
Yes,
Yeah,
whether he was defeated or not.
Were claiming that SUBEEDAY was defeated or dead. So probably SUBEEDAY decided to find out, okay, who lost the first game. So in 1236 and 37, he defeated Bulgaria.
Bulgaria on Danube?
No, on Volga River.
Ah, right, on the Volga River.
Well, it's today's Tatarstan, actually.
So we have to make this clear distinction. Bulgaria, not
Yes.
on Danube, but on Volga.
Yeah.
Well,
these are people of same origin. Only thing is that even before the Mongols, Bulgars on Volga River have been divided into different parts, and one left to Balkan Peninsula, and they've got the name of Bulgars, and one who left on the Volga River used to be called Bulgars, and now today they are called Tatars. Some of them went into Caucasia, now they are called Balkars, etc. So it's a big nation, but divided. And it was one of the strongest nations in Volga River area. So Mongols defeated them unquestionably, and then they conquered Bashkirs. Actually, they started fighting with the Bashkirs, and in the middle, both of them have agreed to join each other.
To make peace?
To make peace, and the Bashkirs joined the Mongols. I would rather say that SUBEEDAY is a very uncanny person. He sent emissaries to Bashkirs and said that, well, guys, I mean, why do we fight each other? We are heading toward the west. Let's go to the west and gain even more wealth. Diplomat, yes. Although fighting with Bashkirs was one of the most difficult wars that Mongols fought, because Bashkirs are forest people. which did not allow Mongol cavalry their usual fight, because Mongols are steppe people, and they are used to maneuvering during the fight.
Tactics would be different.
Yeah, and in forest you won't do big maneuver, right? Etc. So, and then they defeated Mordvas. Half of the Mordvas joined Mongols, half were annihilated, etc. So it took 3 years to go through all these steppe regions, Upper Caspia and Upper Black Sea region.
To settle out who could join us and who would be against.
Yes.
To pacify that area.
Yeah, we're just galloping through that. Otherwise, there were so many battles, etc. So finally, they came to Russia. And it is interesting. The only nation who invaded Russia in winter is Mongolia. Mongolians. Remember when Hitler invaded? June 22nd. Napoleon invaded June 24th. Everybody invaded during the summer. Mongols invaded during the winter, end of November. And it's not only because that Mongols are not afraid of the cold. It was, I see there are two reasons. First of all, Mongols were waiting for the rivers to be frozen, because rivers were the avenues through which a military force could pass or march. Yeah, because Russia at that time was basically in forest. So marching through the forest is always problematic, but the Mongols were waiting until the rivers froze, and then they were marching along the river to, and obviously all of the Russian cities were on the river. It's understandable. And second, SUBEEDAY knew through his spies that all the Russians, they do the harvesting in the autumn, and during the winter they bring all the harvest in house and lock there in pass the winter through. So it was good time to go in and take all the deposits of grain, whatsoever was available. And secondly, when we read through the campaign of SUBEEDAY against the northeastern Russian principalities, well, a lot of historians write, oh, he came to Ryazan, conquered, he came to Vladimir, conquered, etc. But we need to see the strategic planning behind. SUBEEDAY was master in organizing spy network.
Military intelligence.
Military intelligence. Strategic intelligence, military intelligence in both ways. And he knew the strongest principality in northeast Russia was Vladimir. So probably when you see all the campaign, you can see that SUBEEDAY wanted Vladimir forces to be out of the walled city and to fight with Mongols in the open field. That's why he attacked Ryazan first. Ryazan was a vassal principality of Vladimir, and when Mongols sent an envoy to Ryazan demanding the submission, Ryazan has sent an envoy to Vladimir. They chose that Ryazanites, they said, well, we're sorry, we cannot make our own decision. Please go to our Lord and ask. So obviously, and when Ryazan was assaulted, it is understandable that Vladimir would send his forces to defend Ryazan. So obviously, Mongols have a chance to meet them in open field, while the forces will be traveling from one city to the another city. That's exactly how it happened.
So, very smart.
Yeah, that was a very smart move. And in December 1239, the Ryazan was besieged, and in 5 days, the whole city was taken. Everybody was killed, and Mongols went ahead and met the Vladimir forces on the way near the city of Kolomna. By the way, city of Kolomna now is inside Moscow.
Пригород.
Park
One of them.
of Kolomna. That's now inside the Moscow. Well, those
Do we
days.
have a map to show in this?
Well, this is city of Ryazan, where the Mongols first came, and that's the city of Vladimir, actually, metropolitan city, and Vladimir forces went out of the city to fight with Mongols, and in January 1238, Mongols met them in the open field. Probably if they were sitting inside the city walls, it would have been difficult for Mongols to fight with them. So
much longer, yeah?
that was the strategic planning, in my opinion, strategic planning that SUBEEDAY had. And in open field, of course, Russian forces were no match to Mongolians. Probably they were outnumbered. Russians were outnumbered, and the experienced Mongols just routed the Russian forces away. I should say there are a lot of myths. How many Mongols came to Russia at that time? If you see medieval Russian books, they write about millions of Mongols. Well, if we remember, total population of Mongolia was 800,000, including women, old men, women, children. Obviously, the million Mongol horsemen cannot be mobilized. And then when we come into the 18th, 19th century sources, they talk about 500,000, which is again fantastic figure. And then in 1950s, the scholars started writing about 125,000. And in these days, Russian scholars, they say that invading force was around 40 to 50,000. So this is...
Against how many Russian soldiers?
Well, if you take the whole of Russia, population was around 5 million. So with the 5 million population, you may say that Russian principalities altogether could mobilize 250,000 soldiers, but which it did not happen, because the military genius of SUBEEDAY was that he started beating all Russian principles separately. Yeah. So at any given time, Mongols would have superiority in the numbers, besides their experience.
So they preempted that the Russian principalities wouldn't get together and form larger armies, yeah? So they...
First of all, they preempted, and I should say also it was a result of the battle in Kalka River. Remember 1223, 15 Russian kings had been killed on the Kalka River. So that king, it means that there is an open vacancy. So there may be 10 people who would like to fill that vacancy. So, Russians, after Kalka River, they have been fighting with each other, So when Mongols invaded the second time, 1239, there was no person who would be organized resistance to Mongols. Moreover, during the Mongol invasion, Russians were still fighting with each other. Yeah. Just using the opportunity that someone was beaten by Mongols, okay, then I would go and conquer that city to sit as a king in that city. So that was actually, so you cannot say that Russia was a united country at that time. Everybody was sitting in his own town, which obviously could not offer
collective resistance
to Mongols. Second is in Russia. In Russia, there is a legend about the Russian strongman Yevpatий Kolovrat, who fought with Bati, Han Bati, and etc. etc.
Particular.
Yeah. First of all, it is a legend. There is no documentary evidence of the existence of this man. Yeah. And secondly,
but there is a movie about Yevpatий Kolovrat.
Oh yes,
there are many movies. Huh?
Yeah, there are many movies. You know, well, I cannot.
Well, it's something close to Mulan.
Yeah, it's a fiction movie.
It's a fiction.
It's a fiction movie. If you read the story about Yevpatий Kolovrat, the story was written somewhere in the end of the 15th century, at the time when Russians were looking forward to get rid of dominance of Golden Horde. So probably they needed a hero who would be a national hero who would have been fighting with Mongols. So this person, there is a person, Yevpatий Kolovrat, and also there is a person who was called Mercury of Smolensk. This is the city of Smolensk. And that gentleman, Mercury, was actually Czech, who was hired by city of Smolensk to serve in the city of Smolensk. And if you read through the campaign, Smolensk did not offer a fight to Mongols. Smolensk just simply surrendered. And it's not understandable why Mercury was fighting with the Mongols when the whole city surrendered. Or there is another person called Demian of Pereslavl. This is Pereslavl. And the man of Pereslavl, yes, we can find his trace in historical annals, but unfortunately he was dead 40 years before Mongols. So after defeating King of Vladimir Yuri at the river of Sid, basically northeastern Asia, Russia became leaderless. And there is one interesting thing, and then Mongols moved toward the Novgorod, which was one of the biggest cities in the north of Russia, and suddenly about 100 kilometers before Novgorod, they turned back. And some historians say that it was springtime, and Mongols were tired. I don't think so. I just assume that Novgorod just submitted to Mongols. So if the city is submitted, if the city is paying the taxes, there is no reason to travel to this city and destroy the city. So they went back. Basically, the whole campaign lasted only 5 months.
But then, just to go back to the start of our story, why we ended up in Russia? We were heading to the Western Europe. And now we're talking about Hungary, Eastern Europe. And what Russia has to do with this campaign?
Well, remember 1223, Battle of Khalkha, and from Battle of Khalkha, Mongols understood that Russians are ally of Cumans.
Kipchaks.
Kipchaks or Cumans. So in order to move to Hungary, you cannot leave Russians behind your lines. So maybe if they move directly to the Hungary, Russian forces might hit you from behind. That's why they entered into northeast Russia, and then a year later, 1241, they entered into southern Russian principalities. Well, southern Russian principalities were on the way to Hungary, which is understandable, and there was no serious resistance in campaign of 1240. Kiev was taken in December 1240, and Kiev used to be, Russians used to say that Kiev is the mother of all Russian cities, but by 1240, Kiev was a very weak city, principally with no military, available, so Kiev did not stand long, and there was no king in Kiev. Only the voivoda,
Warrior, military leader. Small
Dmitro. He was actually organizing the resistance of Kiev. And very surprising, after conquering the Kiev, Mongols took this voivoda Dmitro and put back him on Kiev. But this time as a Mongol representative. So all that shows that Mongols had no intention of conquering Russia or settling in Russia.
What happened to Yaroslav of Kiev, the brother of the Knязь of Vladimir?
Well, during the campaign of 1239, Yaroslav was king of Kiev. And during the campaign, somehow he traveled to Novgorod. Actually, he is originally from Novgorod. Somehow he traveled to Novgorod. He did not come to support, to back up his brother in river of city, but instead he goes through the occupied territories to Novgorod, and then Mongols moves back from Novgorod.
Safely through Mongol territory.
Yes, yes. So that gives us a reason to believe that he was already in some kind of agreement with the Mongols. So they allowed him his safe passage to Novgorod, and then Mongols goes back from without reaching Novgorod. So I believe that there was already an understanding between Yaroslav and Mongols. And after the European campaign, when Yaroslav comes to Bathang in 1243, Bathang appoints him as the eldest of Russian kings. So, well, this gives us a reason to believe that Yaroslav was already in some agreement with Bathang during the campaign. In 1240, Mongol forces went through the southern Russian kingdoms or principalities. There was no serious battle except siege of Kiev, this Volyn, Galich. The kings of Volyn and Galich, they just ran away to Hungary because Mstislav of Galich and Dmitry of Volyn, they were at the Battle of Kalka. So they knew what is going to happen to them in case if Mongols occupy. So basically all these places, which is now today's Ukraine, have submitted to Mongols without any problem. And then comes the Eastern Europe. And
so the total of northern and southern Russia is now pacified under Mongol control. Can we say so?
Yes, yes. I would say they became a vassal kingdoms of Mongol Golden Horde. Yeah, and then Mongols started planning further movement toward Europe.
Okay. Now let's go to the Eastern Europe then. How did we reach Hungary and defeat Kipchak, if we did?
Now we are coming to the theater that's east of Eastern Europe. You see Italy, that's the Mediterranean Sea, that's Balkan Peninsula, that's Hungary, and Poland. So when SUBEEDAY was planning invasion into Hungary, it is very interesting how he planned, because he organized three-pronged attack. Because he was aware that Hungarian King Bela the Fourth, he has given asylum to the Kipchaks who fled from Russia, and also he knew that King Bela's daughter was married to Polish king. Another daughter was married to minor Polish king. Another daughter was married to Bavarian king. and all this stuff. So
Big family.
yeah, so probably through his intelligence network, he gathered all the information. So basically, his right-hand force, led by Ordejen and Buri, not Buri, sorry, Ordejen and Baider.
Ordejen is who?
Ordejen is elder brother of Bathan. Baider is son of Chagatai. These two led force through Poland over the river Wisla, if you see now. Yeah, and their purpose was to back the invading force from the northern part in order not to allow Polish to come in support of Hungarians. Basically, I believe that the initial purpose was just to keep Polish there in Poland somewhere.
To contain them.
Yeah, but to our surprise, they were so successful that they beat up near Liegnitz the whole Polish army together with the Germans. Because nowadays, historians believe that total northern corps consisted of 6,000 horsemen. So you may imagine Poland and Germany being invaded by 6,000 men. So that obviously they were supposed to keep everybody here busy. Whereas Hatan, son of Ugedei, went through Moldavia and Transylvania along the Danube in order to not to allow anybody coming from the south in support of Hungarians. So these two corpses, and Hatan actually conquered southern Hungary. So if anybody, especially from Bulgaria, where the Kipchaks fled from Hungary to Bulgaria, if they would like to come in support of Hungarians, there will be Hatan's corpus blocking their way. So, and the main force invaded through the Carpathian Range, led by Bathan and SUBEEDAY. So this was the main invading force. And King Bela, he did not believe that Mongols would be able during the winter time to pass through Carpathian Range. It's a very difficult job. By the way, in 1945, the powerful Red Army, they passed the Carpathian Range for 4.5 months. Yeah, you can imagine Red Army of 1945 and the opposing force of Hungarians. And still it took for them 4.5 months to pass. But basically what they did is that they crossed the Carpathian, I think, in 2 weeks.
Very steep mountains.
Yeah,
very high.
Very difficult, valleys. So maybe you have seen this American and Ukrainian movie called Eisenhower. Actually, this movie is a story about the Veretsk Pass, which was only pass allowing from Dniester to pass through Carpathian Range. That movie is, of course, fiction, but Mongols were able in 2 weeks to cross Carpathian Mountains, and there was 5,000 strong Hungarian military on the pass, which was rooted out by Mongols very easily. And the first units of Mongols reached Pest in 1 month's time.
The Pest of Budapest.
Yeah, but Budapest is actually two cities,
2 cities.
Buda and Pest. So they reached...
On the 2 sides of the river.
Yeah, Pest is on the left side of the river, eastern side of the river. So they reached Pest in 1 month's time. And Bela was still calling his different relatives, units, subordinates, etc. So finally, when the units of Shibang reached the Pest, Bela started to move out against the Mongols. So basically here you will see again the same story like at the Kalka River. Shiban started immediately retreating back, whereas Batu and Subede, they were waiting for them near the river of Shayo. That's in Carpathian Mountain, in the western edge of the Carpathian Mountain. So Shiban retreated for another week or so. Hungarians followed after him, and finally two armies met at the Shayo River.
Not retreated, attacked probably, advanced to Batu's troops?
Hungarians advanced, Shiban retreated in order. Basically, Mongols were waiting at the eastern bank of the Shayo River. It's called Battle of Mohi because there is a small village called Mohi. Yeah. So you can see Batu waiting on the eastern bank, and Hungarians, Bela, coming on this side. So Bela was shrewd enough not to cross the river. If you remember, at the Kalka, Russians started crossing river, and Mongolians hit them at the crossing. Bela was shrewd enough not to do that. I'm sure that there were still some Hipchaks who remembered Battle of Kalka at that time. So that was the first location. And Subete, instead of going through the bridge, he crossed the river on the other side and went into the forest to appear suddenly from the backside of the Hungarian army. So Batu started attacking the bridge. Hungarians started, they destroyed first Mongol attack. And then Mongols started crossing the river, and they surrounded Hungarian camp and destroyed basically all the Hungarian army. And the Battle of Mohi is interesting in the terms that when Mongols surrounded the camp, Hungarian camp, they left one space open, so that Hungarians started fleeing the battle scene through that space, and then Mongols followed after them, killing one by one. Basically, that's a Mongolian hunting tactic. Yeah.
Winter hunting tactic, when they encircle the prey.
Yeah, and leave open one space, and all the animals go through this space, and then you can pick up your animal, which one you would like to shoot.
So in that way, the Bela's army is defeated?
Yes.
And Kipchaks defeated with them?
No, Kipchaks, as I told you, fled to Bulgaria. So, and then a lot of people ask why Mongols did not go further. Because basically all the European armies were defeated by that time. Even the Knight Templar Pont de Bon, after the Battle of Ligny, he wrote King Louis of France that please do know that there is no one to stand against the Mongols until the France. So what stopped the Mongols to go to the France? So if you see, they went through the Poland, reached the border of the Holy Roman Empire, and then they almost reached Vienna, and then they got out to the Danube without invading Holy Roman Empire. From Hungary, Budapest, some forces went up to Neustadt and then came back, and Hadan was following King Bela to the Adriatic Sea. Well, it's Italy, if you see. And Bela went to the some island in the Adriatic Sea, and Mongols, having no fleet, were not able to chase him afterwards. And then all Mongol army went into Bulgaria in pursuit of the Hipchaks, who fled into Bulgaria. And somewhere after this battle, somewhere when the army was on the way to Bulgaria, the news came that Great Khan Uguday was dead.
That was 1242.
1242. That changed the whole campaign. But I believe that the reason why they did not go further was that I assume that there was some kind of understanding between the Holy Roman Emperor and Bathan in SUBEEDAY. Because if you remember the European history of that time, that was a time when there was a feud between the Roman Pope and the Holy Roman Emperor, the struggle between Ghibellines and Guelphs. King Bela was on the side of Roman Pope. So Holy Roman Emperor maybe was in a way happy that Mongols destroyed Hungary, and maybe there was even some help extended to them. And that's why Mongols did not invade Holy Roman Empire. I theorize that way. A lot of European historians say that they left back because Great Khan Uguday was dead, or Mongols were tired, or there was no pasture land in Germany. And I don't think so. Mongols went through Caucasia without any problem. So going through the mountains of Germany, wouldn't it be a problem? So if you see the whole scene, basically the decision of the Great Horoltai was implemented.
Yes.
Hungary was defeated, Hipchaks were defeated, so they went after them up to Bulgaria and captured all of them, etc. By the way, future hero of Battle of Ain Jalut, Beybars, Sultan Beybars, he was caught in Bulgaria and sold as a slave at the Cairo market. Then he became a Mamluk Sultan to defeat Mongols 20 years later. So, first of all, the decision was implemented already. So, battle could go back with full conscious that, okay, decision is implemented.
Mission achieved.
Mission achieved. Secondly, obviously there was an understanding with the Holy Roman Empire, and Mongols did not have plan or direction to go further. And thirdly, death of Uguday put a big question before Bat, because during the campaign of 1239, after the first Russian campaign, Guyuk, son of Uguday, and Batu, they did have a quarrel, and Guyuk left with his forces back to Mongolia. And there was a very high probability that Guyuk is going to be next Great Khan as son of Uguday, which was a great danger to Bat. And probably he could not continue his campaign, and he had to go back in order to ensure that there is no threat from eastern side of his Golden Horde. SUBEEDAY was along with all the campaign, and of course there were a lot of princes, and SUBEEDAY, in history, SUBEEDAY's role is being overshadowed by Batu. Everybody knows Bathan, but not everybody knows SUBEEDAY. So anyway, SUBEEDAY is a great general, but anyway, he is a very unfortunate person because his early achievements were overshadowed by Genghis Khan, because everything is registered under the name of Genghis Khan, although it was SUBEEDAY who commanded the force. And again, in the Western campaign, everything was written under the name of Bathan, whereas SUBEEDAY was actually the guy who had organized the whole thing. Yeah. By the way, after the Battle of Mohi, a lot of princes wanted to go back. And they said, "Oh, we defeated Hungarians. Now job is done. Let's go back." And only SUBEEDAY has said, "Okay, if you want, you may go back. I have to go further to Bulgaria." So he
to trace down the Kipchaks.
Yeah. So by 1242, SUBEEDAY comes back together with Batu to Deshti Kipchak.
To Deshti Kipchak because of the sudden death of Uguta Khan. We have to follow the military career and achievements of SUBEEDAY. So now what happens to SUBEEDAY? They're all back to Deshti Kipchak.
Yes, and
the big Horolda is probably announced.
And then, the problem starts within Mongolian Empire because Batu doesn't want Guyuk to be great Khan. Obviously, if Guyuk becomes a great Khan, it was a danger to Batu. At this moment, we can see that SUBEEDAY, who is very close to House of Juche, and to his sons, and he is also very close to House of Tului. If you remember, his son Urengte was commander of Kishikten force of Munche. So SUBEEDAY felt probably very close to Batu in Munche, and most probably he never felt closeness to Guyuk. First of all, during the campaign, he never operated together with Guyuk, or very seldom operations. And secondly, probably he did not appreciate the quarrel between Batu and Guyuk. He was probably on the Batu side because he continued with Batu to the west instead of returning with Guyuk to Mongolia. So he was on the Batu side, and there was almost 5 years of interregnum period when wife of Queen of Uguta Khan, Durgan, ruled Mongolia. And there are reasons to believe that Batu was leading intrigues in order to stop Guyuk becoming a great Khan. The problem was that Rashid ad-Din wrote that Uguta, before his death, he said that his grandson Shirimun should become a great Khan. Durgan, his widow, had a little different opinion. And by the way, Shirimun is a Christian name.
Son of Khotam?
Son of Khotam, yes. Shirimun is a Christian name. It's a Mongolian pronunciation of Solomon. Yeah, he was a Christian guy. And it took...
But why Batang and Guyuk didn't like each other?
Well, first of all, it's a question of the seniority. Guyuk was son of the great Khan. So he felt that he is the most important person in the whole campaign in the West, whereas Batu was appointed as a head of the campaign. So Batu in his own right would be deciding who is going where, etc., etc. So, well, in fact, SUBEEDAY was commanding everything. Well, these two princes were just fighting with each other who has got higher supremacy on these or other issues.
There was just a fight for high authority.
Well,
ambitions and...
Yeah, and we should not forget one thing. During the campaigns, if you conquer certain territory, you have to divide it with the participants of the campaign. I don't have any evidence, but I just guess that the quarrel between Guyuk and Batu was based on that.
Who guess what?
Yeah. Actually, why Golden Horde was established in there? If Uguta did not die on these Russian territories, would be divided between the house of house of Juche, house of Ugode, house of Chagate. But since Great Khan died, everybody rushed back because they would like to get their own seats to be, to be approved by the new Great Khan. Forget about small territories somewhere in Russia. So that's how whole territory was left to Batu.
Now, the Khorolta is announced. There is an interregnum period. Batu is now in Deshte Kipchak. SUBEEDAY goes to Harharan.
Yes. Well, actually, Durgan tried to organize one Khorolta in 1245, which was not attended by the princes. So probably it was intrigue of Batu, and I can just guess that SUBEEDAY was part of it because every prince would listen to SUBEEDAY because he was supreme authority during the campaign, and nobody attended 1245. And then finally in 1247, everybody agreed to come to Harhoring, and SUBEEDAY goes there also. Batu didn't go. Batu said, I'm sick. Okay. Of course, he was not sick. But he didn't go there because I think he was right to be fearful for his own life.
Yes, yes.
And SUBEEDAY goes there, participates in Khoroltai, and Guyuk becomes a great Khan. And it seems that Guyuk was aware of SUBEEDAY's loyalty, and Guyuk didn't want SUBEEDAY to be sent back to Deshte Kipchak to Batu, and he also didn't want SUBEEDAY to remain in Mongolia because he might have become a center of the opposition to him, and he is the really big authority among every lord in Mongolia. So what he does is that he appoints SUBEEDAY to the war against the Song. 70-year-old man.
70-year-old man.
And
just to get rid of him.
Yeah, just to get rid of him, just to make sure
stay away from him.
That he is not in Karakorum and he doesn't go back to the Deshte Kipchak. So he was sent to Sung. And SUBEEDAY really fought almost year and a half in southern Sung. It was his last campaign. He was already in his 70s. Probably, his health was deteriorating. If you spend 60 years of your life on horseback, in campaigns, in battles, you cannot have a good
strong
health.
Man. Plus, he doesn't have one eye, and he was lame.
And but immediately after SUBEEDAY left to the Song front, Guyuk moves with his army to westwards.
To fight?
Well, at least officially it is said that he went for hunting. And he could go for hunting to anywhere, right?
Yes, yes.
Why to west?
Why to Deshte Kipchak?
Why to Deshte Kipchak? So probably, if he didn't die on the way, probably there would have been first civil war among Mongols.
Between him and Batu.
Understandably, Batu was prepared, but Guyuk died on the way somewhere in the eastern Kazakhstan steppe. And there is a Mongolian tradition that, when the Great Khan dies, all military operations are stopped. So SUBEEDAY comes back to Mongolia. He's already 72 by that time. So understandably that he cannot go to any other military operations, etc. And he dies next year.
And he never happened to got to reunite with Bat?
No, he was too old. But his son Urenkhate, he is a conqueror of Vietnam.
It's a later part of the story.
Yeah, his grandson Aju, he is the first Mongolian naval admiral who defeated Chinese fleet at Sanyang and Fanchen. So that's another glorious story to be continued later.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's truly an amazing story of a legendary general. Now let's wrap up our story on Subedai Bhattara. What would you say in conclusion about the role of this great man in the fate of Mongol Empire?
First of all, I would say that his story is untold chapter. He was, I don't know any other general who was operating in such a theater of military action, who fought so many battles, who did not lose any single battle, who led 20 campaigns, defeated 33 nations, won 65 decisive battles, and yet we don't know his real name. Half of his victories written under Genghis Khan's name, another half under Bato's name, etc. So it's in a way very sad story.
Very sad story, but a very glorious story.
Very glorious story.
But when you say some
and
of
we
his,
always think that SUBEEDAY is a military genius, but we don't know. We don't know that he was actually organizer of Golden Horde.
Yes.
Batu came to the already
To a ready-made
existing
state.
ready-made state. It was SUBEEDAY who took 5 years to organize all the government institutions, tributes between the tribes, pacifying these or other tribes. That is a difficult task.
So how can one man possess all this set of skills, military skill, political skill, diplomatic skill, and communication skill, intelligence skill? It's truly a personage in history. And truly remarkable.
Great skill in palace intrigues.
In palace intrigues too.
Because you see, if you see the history of that period, sometimes you see that princes of this lineage are killed or that lineage are killed. All the SUBEEDAY's children, they are unharmed, they are in good esteem, they always take the right side.
But this is this is thanks to his also smartness.
Yes.
It's not a bad quality. I don't think he was cynical, but he was smart enough to know his place and the right time, what to do and what to say, probably.
Yeah. And also, one should say that he was not overambitious.
Not overambitious, yes.
Yeah, he was always behind Genghis Khan.
Very disciplined.
Behind Bat Khan, but he was doing all the job. He was planning everything. He was shrewd enough to know every enemy. He's the founder of the Mongolian intelligence service. This service which was covering right from China to Hungary. That's a global service, which has been created by SUBEEDAY. That's also a very interesting part of the story.
So he was a man of dignity and of true loyalty.
Sure, true loyalty. And I think also very, high conscience. Because he did not offend anybody in these difficult situations. And he was true to his oath to Genghis Khan. He was true to his oath to Bat Khan. That's a very fascinating one.
Yeah. So he will remain as an exemplary statesman and military genius, not only for Mongol history, but also for the entire world's history. And that has to be studied, and that has to be told in its full truthfulness.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are very few books about him. There is one book called SUBEEDAY the Valiant by Richard Gabriel. There is one book called The Horseman Who Conquered the Universe by a Russian scholar, Valery Zlegostov. And a few studies by Professor Stephen Poe. Almost.
You write a book, and you write a movie too. It's going to be a very interesting movie about SUBEEDAY Bhattara. Thank you very much. I think, again, we still had many short parts. We had to shorten many episodes in the life of this very legendary man, General, just for the sake of time. Thank you very much for your very elaborative introduction, explanations, and talk. And with this, we bid goodbye to our viewers, and we will see you on our next episode.